The Department of Public Health and Human Services is pleased to bring you Aging Horizons. Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, fraud, legal issues, veterans benefits, and caregiving. Aging Horizons is a program dedicated to inform and prepare Montanans on these timely issues, making a difference to you and your loved ones. Here now is today's program host.
Hi folks, and welcome to Aging Horizons. On today's show, we'll be talking about homelessness in Montana, particularly for seniors and veterans, and we'll be talking about two programs that have been kind of flying under the radar that helps assist individuals. As you know, housing prices have been going up and up and up, and many times it's going beyond an individual's income. So how can they afford a home, or maybe some programs that are there for them? We'll talk about that, so stay tuned.
I think the most pleasant surprise when we turned 65 and signed up for Medicare Part B was finding out about our Welcome to Medicare preventive visit.
It was free, and it gave us the opportunity to visit with our doctors and establish a plan for our health going forward.
They reviewed our medical history, measured our height, weight, blood pressure, and counseled us on other risk factors.
To learn more about Medicare's free or low-cost preventive and wellness benefits, call your local SHIP counselor at 800-551-3191. I mentioned it's free, right?
Twice.
Montana veterans, your independence matters. The freedom to age with dignity, how and where you want for as long as possible. Please help us improve long-term veteran care in Montana by taking a short online survey. Go to veteransurvey.mt.gov. Your long-term independence is our priority. Go to veteransurvey.mt.gov and help us get it right, Montana. This message brought to you by DPHHS, the Montana Veteran Affairs Division, and this station.
With as many as 1 in 10 Americans at risk for Alzheimer's or some other form of dementia, chances are someone you know and love will receive that diagnosis. When that happens, you may well feel devastated, but know that you are not alone. Help is available. You don't have to face dementia by yourself. Call the free 24/7 Alzheimer's Association helpline, 800-272-3900, for guidance and support.
Hi folks, and welcome to Aging Horizons, brought to you by the Department of Public Health and Human Services Senior and Long-Term Care Division. I'm your host, Brian Lamore. And I mentioned earlier that we're talking about homelessness in Montana, and generally, individuals we're looking at is like age 50, 60 on up. And we brought in a wonderful guest here. We have Danielle Godlewski, you're the SOAR coordinator at Volunteers of America. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Great. Well, let's start at the top and describe the problem that we're facing. Homelessness in Montana, why is it happening, and what is the scale that it's happening at?
Well, about around the time, couple years maybe before the COVID epidemic, rents were about, for a regular one-bedroom apartment, rents were running $700, $800 a month. And then during the COVID epidemic, out-of-state businesses started buying up all of the apartment buildings and raising the rents in a huge fashion. Mm-hmm. Now people, they were used to paying $700, $800 a month. Now they're paying $15, $16, sometimes $100 a month. And income, especially fixed income, has not risen in corresponding measures mm-hmm. with that. And so a lot of folks are finding themselves homeless for the first time in their lives.
Yeah, and as a generalization, when we say fixed income, what are those populations that are fixed income?
Mostly seniors and the disabled.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's because they receive government services, retirement, maybe Social Security, and the generalized are not keeping pace with inflation, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Food prices and the power bills are rising, and along with everything else.
Mm-hmm. And now you're the SOAR coordinator at Volunteers of America. What is SOAR? What is Volunteers of America? And how do you operate in helping to address some of these issues?
Volunteers of America has been around for a long time. It is an organization that was created in 1896. So we've been around for a long time. We're nationwide. And we broke off from Salvation Army a long, long time ago, and so we do things similar that Salvation Army does. Mm-hmm. We help a lot of folks that are disadvantaged. And in Montana, most of that concentrates on helping veterans, and especially homeless veterans and aged veterans as well. And we concentrate on finding them homes in this, homelessness society right now. And what we try to do is we try to stabilize their lives. We try to help them get employment, or in my case, I help them get onto Social Security. There's also the ability to help them get onto VA disability and get benefits or pensions from the VA system as well. Anything to help them get enough income to manage to get housing and sustain it.
So you help them find housing, but I think you got the same situation they do, is raising costs. It's got to be a tough job.
It is. It's gotten very tough. One of the advantages with Volunteers of America is that we do have partnerships with a lot of landlords. We've got some landlords in the state that will just work exclusively with us, which is wonderful. We help when the vet comes in, we help get them we figure out what tools that they would need to keep them housed, and then we start helping them with that. And one of the things that we help immediately with is that we can help them with rent while they save up their money and either get a job or get onto benefits.
Well, what you're talking about is there's some expenditures you have to do. How are you funded? Is this through government programs, or is it donations, a little of both?
We are on a grant that's administered through the VA.
Okay. So then you kind of focus on those individuals. But many times you mentioned that they're not receiving Social Security, and they just kind of maybe don't know when to apply for it or when to get it. What's the issue there?
Sometimes that happens. They just don't know. Social Security is a really complex organization, and it's confusing, and sometimes the vets will go in and start trying, and they just get befuddled with all of the hoops that they have to jump through and all the red tape. And they I just don't want to do it. It's just too much for me. And sometimes we get folks that maybe have a distrust to the government, or they've lived off the grid and just are unaware of what they could have.
And I know when I applied for Social Security, I got a call and they asked me about a former employer way back when, and I had to think for a moment or two, and I imagine some of the homeless might not have phones, or they might not answer 800 numbers like I don't, so then they miss that link, but you're able to work with them. Now we've got a phone number for you, it's been on the screen, and how do you help these individuals?
What I do, what SOAR Works does, is we work completely with people who are homeless or at risk of homelessness, because homelessness is a huge barrier to getting onto benefits. They need to have a phone, they need to have an address in order for Social Security to communicate with them. And if they don't, then they need a liaison, and that's what I do.
That's what you do. Okay, that's great. Now we've really drawn to a close on our first segment here very quickly. But we're talking about SOAR and Volunteers of America. This program goes back to the late 1800s. So they've been around a long time, providing services under various different names, but they're focused on helping individuals get the benefits they deserve, to be housed, and to be able to stabilize the individual's life. And they do that through a variety of programs that we'll talk more about in our next segment. So please stay tuned. We'll be right back.
You've probably seen some big-name celebrities on your TV lately talking about all the Medicare benefits you're missing out on. But the insurance companies who are paying for these ads may be pushing benefits not available in Montana. Fortunately, help is available from a friendly state health insurance assistance program counselor who can help you sort it all out. It's free, and we screen everyone for eligibility regardless of your zip code. It's Montanans helping Montanans. Call today.
This is Bill. He just received his new Medicare card and is following some simple rules to protect himself from fraud. He knows to never give out his Medicare, Social Security, or bank number over the phone. And this is Nancy. She knows that to detect any problems, she always reads her Medicare summary notice or Medicare Advantage EOB to make sure the billing is correct. Both Bill and Nancy know that anything suspicious can be reported to Montana SMP at 1-800-551-3191.
Today, class, we'll be discussing the term ombudsman, a word we borrowed from the Swedes and never gave back. Say you're a resident or you have a loved one in long-term care. Now, what do you do if you're not happy with the care and services you receive? You call your long-term care ombudsman, of course. Your ombudsman is available to support you and your rights. An advocate on your behalf could be the ticket. This is your home. If you have questions, the numbers right there below me have all the answers. Class dismissed.
Welcome back to Aging Horizons. I'm your host, Brian Lamore, and we're continuing our discussion about homelessness in Montana, particularly for individuals age 50 and 60 plus, and veterans. There's a program out there, it's called SOAR, and it's also called Volunteers of America, and we have the coordinator here, Danielle Godlewski, and you're the liaison. And what does the liaison do? What's your operation? I guess you start with, you get a telephone call, and then how do you go from there?
What I do is when I get a referral, I will call the vet or his family, his or her family, and just get an idea of what their claim would look like, what they might be eligible for, and their work history a little bit, and maybe a diagnosis. And then we go from there. I help them fill out the applications. I help them fill out all the rest of the paperwork. I help them make sure to get all of their signatures and everything that they might need, and then we send it in. And then I act as a liaison between Social Security and between the Department of Disability Determination Service, which is a state department that helps make the medical decision.
Yeah.
And anything that those agencies need, I help the vet get.
Yeah. And you know, there's so many programs that are out there. I know when Aging Services, a person apply for a program, maybe on the internet, I'm not eligible. But that doesn't mean you're not eligible for all the other programs that are out there.
Exactly.
And that's where someone like you comes in and says, your income is such and such, you're eligible for these. And then you assist the individual, right, to apply for it. You don't do it for them. I mean, you're not a third party. They aren't aware of what you're doing.
Right. I help them. I just make sure that they know of all of their options, and because I can help with other things besides applications, the application process. I can help them with overpayments that they might have accrued. I can help them with retirement. I can help them with other little things, such as if their Medicare premium is being taken out of their check, but they're very low income, there are programs for that I can help get them on.
That's right. And when you mentioned earlier that you work with the individual and their family, and sometimes their families are alienated, but they're probably very concerned about their loved one. I imagine they might contact you, but there might be some friction between them and the loved one. But you know how to work through that, don't you? I mean, it's common.
Yes, we do that a lot. We get a lot of phone calls from concerned families. Maybe their loved one is not wanting to get involved with the government or wanting to get involved with other entities, and we will outreach as much as we can and try to smooth that over.
And I think earlier you mentioned that sometimes they have problems getting benefits because they don't have a phone number or they don't have an address. And I remember that being a big issue, I mean, way back when, from people, trying to get on programs. How is that resolved now?
What I do, if I get somebody that comes in and needs some services, but they don't have a phone, I make sure that I know where they are so I can keep in contact with them, because that's very important. And I have the ability to use my office phone number for them and the ability to use our office address so that they can receive their mail there and phone calls. And I have an agreement with DDS and Social Security. It's called a Form 1696, which makes me the non-attorney authorized rep, and they will talk to me directly so that I can communicate between the vet and
that's great.
Those two agencies.
Well, that's a great solution. Yes. I haven't heard of that before. So that's really good. Now, you're, I'll generalize a statewide program, right?
Yes.
So then how does that work with individuals around the state? And you're based out of Helena?
Yes.
But you're a Helena-based person, so you're representing, let's say, someone in Billings. How do you communicate, catch up with them? How do you make connections?
Well, yesterday I was in Missoula and Polson helping some folks file. And what I do is the first meetings are over the phone, and we do all of the applications and things over the phone, and I develop a relationship with them. I use that time to gain trust and develop relationships. And then when we get ready to file, that's when I go up in person and we meet and we file, and then I give them, all of the information that they're going to need to go on. Yeah. And we will stay in touch. And as things come down from DDS or Social Security, we meet them head on.
Great. And how involved are the families many times with this? I mean, they care about their loved one.
I have a lot of families that are really involved. I have some vets that are really incapacitated due to possibly traumatic brain injuries that they really cannot survive without help in life. And their families, as long as the vets want them there, they're welcome to help through the whole process. I also have the ability, as long as the vet is involved with our organization and is enrolled, I have the ability to help members of the family as well, including children and spouses, and anybody that they see as their family.
They're people that assist them. We've drawn to a close on our second segment so quickly here, but we're getting a lot of really good information out here, and I'm learning a lot of things too, and I've done this show before. So if you have a veteran, or you have a loved one, or you're a family member of the veterans, they do have some help and they do have some assistance. So I encourage you to call the telephone number or the website, and certainly stay tuned. We have another segment to go. Perhaps our regular viewers have noticed that we've been missing a host for the last several months. In July, our favorite person, Kimmy Everman, unexpectedly passed away, and we'd like to take a few moments now to share some memories that we have of her.
For many of us, watching Aging Horizons with Kimmy as the host was like talking to a friend, and for Kimmy, that's exactly what it was. She cared about all of the viewers of Montana on Aging Horizons as if they were her personal friends. She wanted each of us to live the best possible life and connect to as many services as possible. She had no greater joy in life than connecting advocates to others that could help Montanans across the state with problems that they maybe didn't know as much about. Losing Kimmy was a great loss to the state of Montana, but the work that she did will live on in the hearts and minds and Rolodexes of so many of us at the state.
So working with Kimmy was always a very fun experience for me. She lit up a room with her smile, and I loved her giggle. She had this giggle that was the cutest, most happiest spreading of joy that I could describe. She also was very passionate about her work, about helping veterans, and about her dog Sophie.
Kimmy's been my friend, my coworker, and my mentor for over 20 years. She has taught me so much about not only Medicare, but working with people. She had a great sense of compassion and love, especially for veterans, animals, and the underdog. She loved working with seniors and people with disabilities. That was her heart. She will be greatly missed.
Aging Horizons has been on the air for over 30 years, and I've had the pleasure of working with these wonderful ladies and everybody in senior long-term care that length of time, including Kimmy Everman. And whenever we got done with the show, I just loved her laughter, which everybody's commented here. It was like we're getting away with something. Isn't this fun? And I will sincerely miss both that and her.
Welcome back to Aging Horizons. We're continuing our discussion about Volunteers of America and the SOAR program, how they assist individuals with maybe a little bit of income and shelter, a little assistance in applying for government programs. And Danielle, Volunteers of America has been around since the late 1800s, more than any program that the government has for people. How did you start, and what did you begin addressing the problems back in the late 1800s?
Volunteers of America started in 1896 with the Booth brothers. And they developed an organization to help just basically the downtrodden in 1896. And it could be wives, widows, children, veterans, the disabled, the insane, anybody who just needed help. The brothers got into not an argument, but just a disagreement over which groups should be assisted and which shouldn't, and they split the organization. One Booth brother took the Salvation Army and developed it, and the other Booth brother created Volunteers of America. And since then, Volunteers of America has been helping the mission to help basically anybody who needed help, as I said, all the way from orphans and widows, which was their big concentration, all the way to the incarcerated and the folks that are just getting out of prison, veterans, the elderly, folks with AIDS. We've got the Ryan White grant in Wyoming for AIDS. And we also have a home for youth as well. So we're very diverse in what we help. In Montana, it's mostly veterans.
Veterans, yeah. And in one of the brochures you gave me, I noted that you have facilities in Helena and Billings. What focus group does those facilities zoom in on, and how does it assist those individuals?
The facility in Billings, it's called GPD, Grant Per Diem, and it's for folks who are homeless, and it's a shelter. It can be a long-term shelter, meaning a bit longer, 3 months, 6 months, until they get on their feet, they get a job, they get disability or other public assistance, and then they can move out into their own housing. And the facility is called Independence Hall, or Indy Hall, and it's in Billings. And we are looking to have another shelter here, another GPD shelter here, and it's looking pretty good that we will have one.
And being in Helena, I know that the Helena the City of Helena and a lot of other groups are participating in addressing homeless needs, which is housing. And you're a part of that group. So you just don't stand alone. You cooperate with other groups. What are you moving towards, and what is the ideal situation that might be in Helena?
Well, the United Way kind of acts as an umbrella for a lot of the agencies, probably all the agencies in town. And we meet monthly, and we go over situations and try to help as much as we can. There is a meeting tonight that I will be attending on homelessness. There is a coalition, and we're trying to at least address the urban camping situation going on in Helena.
Yeah, and I know on the news, all the different major cities in Montana are addressing the same issues. And is there I want to say one solution. I don't think there is, but I imagine if you're information sharing amongst these cities, you might have some common solutions and goals.
Yes, we are still trying to address, and I think looking at other states and the way they're addressing homelessness as well. I know in one state they've turned old hotel buildings into homeless domiciles, and I know on the West Coast, some of the folks are addressing that issues with tiny home villages.
Oh, yeah, and I know the governor's put together a committee to address this, but it seems that, when you have raising prices and you've got static income, I don't see how you can't bring the income up and you can't bring the cost of housing down. It seems like a tough nut to break.
Yes, it is. And Social Security just made a big leap up, their highest raise that they've given folks, and it's still not
even close.
Enough. No.
Not even close. Well, let's go over again in our final few minutes about how the Volunteers America and SOAR help individuals with housing, how your programs help to address that for individuals.
With Volunteers of America, we have 2 different programs in Helena, and one is the traditional. It's called SSVF, and it's a short term. It can include emergency housing, depending on the case. And it's more of a short term, helping folks find that apartment and getting them moved in. We can help pay the deposit, and we can help pay a few months' rent. We can also help folks who are in the process of losing their housing, help them pay arrears or pay up the power bill. Mm-hmm. And the other program is called Shallow Subsidy, and it's for folks that maybe need a little extra help beyond the traditional. Mm-hmm. And Shallow Subsidy can follow them for 2 years. And Volunteers of America will pay half the rent for 2 years and provide some case management. Case
management, that's great. Well, Danielle, thank you for being on the show and for your efforts at helping our individuals that need this kind of assistance. It's wonderful that you do that.
Thank you for having me.
Certainly. And for our viewers, homelessness across the state of Montana, raising rent, static income. We've got issues on housing individuals, good people that they're not bad people. It's just the circumstances has them homeless. And we hope to bring you information as how you can maybe participate and help to solve this problem. For Aging Horizons, thank you for joining us.
Special thanks to the Department of Public Health and Human Services for their continued support. Hosts on Aging Horizons are program specialists at the Montana Office on Aging. Production facilities provided by Video Express Productions. For more information about Aging Horizons, call the Department of Public Health and Human Services toll-free at 800-332-2272.